Yeah, today's class as well is going to be about the masculine principle. And I wanted to touch on this because I realized that, doing this change of a paradigmal shift and recognizing who woman is as God, what happens is a lot of times whoever is teaching this is becoming an imbalancement in this. And we're actually losing our direction in towards the men, meaning that we're not really focusing on the men as well. It's not a balancement. It's just woman is God. That's about it. It's almost like what is left for the men? What is left for exactly what role do men play? And not even so much the role. What is the glory of us as men? A lot of times we go into specific African-centered movements and we hear, okay, woman is God so many times that it begins to develop somewhat of an inferiority complex with a lot of men. They don't have a place, or they feel that their place is discounted. And I'm here to tell you tonight that is the farthest thing from truth. One of the main things, as I stressed in previous class last year of alpha male, is man being able to still lead. The masculine principle is still necessary. That's why they have an onslaught of the destruction of the masculine principle, because they know that, number one, in the cipher that we exist in, where it's man, woman, and child, the first teacher usually is that man towards the woman, and then the woman is the first teacher of a nation, meaning no seeds, because there really is no nation without any children being created, without males and females coming together to create and to procreate. So that first step of knowledge of self, usually 7, 8 times out of 10, is coming from a male's side. Not saying women don't get it by themselves as well. Not saying women are not seekers, but that male usually comes to that woman and brings forth that information or that knowledge of self, and she upgrades herself to where she's supposed to be. That is our responsibility as the masculine principle, is to upgrade that woman, to bring her back on that throne. And one of the main things we have to do as well in this structure that we're coming in now as men is we have to accept the fact that we're at war with an enemy, and with a common enemy with every other organization. Regardless of what organization you're a part of, we all have a common enemy, and we cannot forget that. That's why they're going after our men. Not saying the sisters are not in danger, because there's still eugenics going on, as I mentioned previously. But the problem is they are going after the warrior class. And the warrior class between male and female usually is that male. They want to eliminate whoever's going to be the protector of that woman and of those seeds. So the main thing they have to do on the elimination of the masculine principle is, we all know that music and entertainment influences all of us. So they have to, within that music industry and the entertainment industry, they have to effeminize that male. They have to take away anything that is of a strength, that is of someone who is of dominance, someone who is of power, someone who's able to fight, someone who signifies some form of control within the situation, someone who's able, of course, again, to defend that family and as well defend themselves. The problem is, throughout our time, within the last 40 years, our male, but it really actually started in slavery first. The feminization process of African males and that masculine principle originally started in slavery first. Of course, as we all know, with the how to make a slave situation, where they would beat that man in front of that woman, in the front of those kids, so everyone can see he's no longer a man. He's nothing. He's an animal now. He's less than dog. So now, that's the first point. And the next level within the feminization in slavery was a lot of the rapings going on with a lot of these African males from these slave masters and these overseers. So they began to assimilate themselves within these men and began to effeminize them. No more manhood. We got to get rid of the warrior class. So throughout time, you no longer have that man that's able to be the rock that woman in the seas lean on. He becomes the weaker of everybody over a period of time, gradually over a period of time. And so over the past 40 years, you begin to see single-parent homes being developed. You begin to have, within this European paradigmal structure, they take over the household of the African household. They take over and decide to say, well, look, to the African woman, we can give you these free benefits, but you have to get rid of that man. He can't be in that household. So we end up losing our place. And then you have these different drug eras, such as the heroin era and the crack era come in, and that completely began to destroy the black community, because this was pushed in the black community for a reason and for a purpose. And so all these situations over the past 40 years, as well as within the media, where they had to show what they decided to call a politically correct African male, where you can't raise your voice, you can't show any power, you have to have it's because as well you have single parent homes. There's no 33 1/3 of that male teaching or male raising. You get all women. So what do you get from out of that? You get an effeminized male. And not in every single case, but a lot of times when you see or when you meet a lot of effeminized or feminine males, usually it's because he was raised around a lot of women. And so all these factors play into where we are today, combined with there's no more teachings in the household. The best teacher now, well, not the best teacher, excuse me, but the only teacher now is the media. The media teaches our males. Just give you an example. When you look at BET, they have what's called Black Girls Rock. And I think that's a negative, because you're singling out. You're not adding in, the boys. You're just saying Black Girls Rock. How come, why not just say Black Children Rock? So you're separating and you're basically saying we don't care about you. And that resonates as well. There's nothing out here for the masculine principle to grow and still be of a warrior class. The warrior class has truly been eliminated out of the African male, which once was what we were. And so we have to bring those teachings back to our seeds and to our males that, yes, you can be powerful. It's not wrong to have a strong voice. And certain things, such as being able to do just little things, such as sitting up straight in your chair, not putting your hands in your pocket, which shows a sign of insecurity and not being sure of yourself. Just knowing how to carry yourself as a man before you do anything else. Know how to carry yourself as a young man, because they don't like to see that. Okay? The masculine principle is still needed for birth, of course. There's not too many women running around here and having kids by themselves. Again, you still need semen that's coming out of that male to have children. Let's not forget, even though woman was here first on this planet, you still have the etheric level where you take Atum and Mut, where that divine semen that he ejaculated from his loins on the etheric level was actually the product. If you look into this yourself, you realize that the black stone in the Kaaba, near the Kaaba, that is actually hardened semen of Atum. And Muslims today worship this as a means to signify their place in Islam. They don't realize that they're actually kissing and worshiping Atum-Re's sacred semen. Okay, this is something that a lot of men don't know that are coming into the whole woman's God paradigm. You have to realize that we are great within ourselves as well. This isn't someone over the other. We are even. Okay, Nuwuapu is an ultimate equalizer. It's not about women being better than me, I'm less than her. No, it's about accepting things for what they are. Okay, again, going into a warrior class. Tahaka of the 25th dynasty, you realize he warded off Syrians that were trying to come in from Europe. And you have stelas, the same way they have stelas of Menes cutting off the heads of the Hyksos, the Europeans coming in trying to invade ancient Egypt. You have stelas where Tahaka has at least 5 heads in his hand of invading Assyrians or Europeans or Hyksos trying to come in and invade ancient Egypt, because he had to ward off certain people at that time that were trying to come in, certain Europeans that were trying to come in and systematically take over a nome of ancient Kemet or Atum-Re or ancient Egypt. We were warriors at one point. It wasn't about being politically correct. We defended our territory. Okay? There's numerous black leaders I can name, from Marcus Garvey to Honorable Elijah Muhammad to my father, Dr. Malachi Z to Malcolm X, to Clarence 13X, to Haile Selassie. All these men signified strength of the masculine principle. Okay? You can praise one side and give reference to the woman as God. There's no problem with that at all. That's what we need to do, because years and years and years and years have gone by. Because of being involved in religion, she lost her way. The religion weeded out the God principle in the woman, and we had to restore that. But do not forget, as the masculine principle, as the male, you have a place in this situation as well. There's no one better than the other. This is an equal situation here. Okay, and if your purpose is not found, very soon we will still continue to become statistics. You have to define what a male is. If you don't know what a male is, you have to find out what that is, what an African male is, specifically. Because you can find out what a male is in their structure, and they'll literally give you another form of a woman, where you're completely effeminized and you have no desire to literally stand out and be who you are as a man, because we're two different species of people. Okay? We have to get back into being who we are. Be a leader. There's nothing wrong with being a leader. Be a leader and accept your role as a man. Okay? Do not allow the school system to dumb you down to think that the way you think is wrong. You're getting up and you moving around. You might be an active learner. They don't want to define different ways of how Africans learned. We don't always sit straight now. We don't always have to sit in our chair and not move. Black children have always gotten up, sometimes walked around, but then they want to diagnose us as ADHD. Not ADHD. This is how we are. We're very active people in terms of learning. We can't sit still like that as if we're in some type of jail situation. No, after we're done with what we're doing, we need something else to do. We don't want to be bored. So as a man, don't allow them to put a label on you where it defines you and it destroys your self-esteem from your life continuing on down from a teenager all the way into being an adult. Don't allow them to do that to you. So, does anyone have any questions on what I just gave to all?
No, but can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. No questions, but I have to say I agree totally, and I like to comment that as far as the women, we have to remember, we have to not only have to be restored as the goddess in us, but we also have to, like you said, be reminded of what our men are to us. Mm-hmm. Because, you got so many, they have put us into this position where we think we have to be like the white women and women's feminist group and, we're this and that. but we forget. It's no balance. There's no balance at all. It's like either the women are totally independent of the men, or they're just out there doing something totally different. And then the men, they have all these things on TV where it's okay. You know, now you see these movies like Daddy Daycare, and the men that get together, you know, and they're in the park doing the mother thing. Not that I'm against a man or a brother, you know, being a father to his child and being out there taking care of himself, but I'm seeing a lot more of where, like you said, where the role of the male is no longer the leader, is no longer the protector. You know?
Right.
So it's like real important for us all to, and having grandsons is like really important that they hear this, you know, because like, you don't cry, you know, you have to say to them, no, you're a man, you're a man, act like one, you're a boy, act like one, you know. And nowadays it's like, well, you can't tell them that because it's okay to cry, it's okay. It's not that it's okay, it's not that it's not okay to cry, but know what you're crying for, you know. And it's hard, but I totally agree with all that. And as a woman, I had a very strong black male that raised me, and it's really important for us to remember who that man is to us, and embrace that and support that, and not be afraid of that. We got to not be afraid to stand by our men. We're so afraid that they're gonna fail that a lot of us will just do it ourselves, and we won't get with him unless he's already has this or has that. But we have to learn how to support him and uplift him.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Exactly. Support is definitely needed right now. Definitely needed right now. We don't want, and this is just my perspective on this level, is that I'm not a person to put sisters on the front line like that. I realize we all have purposes at this time. If it came to that, then that's fine, meaning in terms of strategies of war in certain situations when we talked about Rex 84 and situations like that. But my first thought would be for men to go out first and defend. You know, which still, again, it doesn't mean that I'm going out first. Doesn't mean that I'm better than you and you're beneath me. We still have even jobs that still equal out to the same purpose. It's just that on a physical level, I just may be doing that. You're maybe the one commanding or leading the situation in terms of strategy. But at the same time, they both work intertwined, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. We've had this conversation before. Yep. Because I'm a fighter, definitely. But like you said, when it's necessary. My place is to do what I need to do here, and if I need to, you know that I'm willing and I'm able.
Yeah, exactly. That needs to be known off the top, you know. And I think that with all these situations going on, again, I stress into the media because, again, now the media has become the teacher of our people. There isn't very many things for men to watch in terms of, like, us, African males, masculine principle. I can suggest certain things for children, meaning, like, you know, teenagers or young teenagers, 12, 11, 13. There's a child, there's a brother named Kimi Ray Atun on Facebook. If you can get in touch with him, he makes books, he makes DVDs for children and young teenagers to look at, to have images of self and dealing with Africa.
Okay.
African history, as well as a DVD called Keriku, if you can look it up. It's dealing with Africa especially, you know. And then even Black Panther, because it is some form of strength. You know, it's made by them, but at the same time, you don't have a weak black man in there at all. It's strength in there, and its images are very important because we're very visual in how we learn. So when you see things on TV, on DVD, on movie, you begin to internalize it. And we as men, as African males, have been internalizing very demonic images and very effeminized images. That's the reason why you're seeing a lot of men with their clothes that are extremely tight, falling off their behind, very bright colors, and our young men are becoming women right in front of our eyes, because men usually do what women like, and so that's lost, because usually men back in the day, they will wear clothes to impress the women, whereas now men are wearing clothes based upon what's being pushed as a fad.
Right.
So if you're following fads, automatically you're a follower. So you've lost the principle of being a leader. So just teaching our young men to no longer follow fads. I know it's very hard to do because of being so involved into the structure, but getting them to be able to decide what they want to do for themselves. You don't have to wear Jordans or Air Force Ones to be in the in crowd. You don't have to be in the in crowd. The best men are the ones that lead by example, and they have to, at certain times, be by themselves. You don't have to be around people just to feel important. And they have to remember that, because we have a nation now of followers. And if we have a nation now of followers, there's no one that's going to make a change. No one's going to stand out in front of a group of young males and say, this is what we need to do on a positive level to protect our community, because they're constantly worrying about looking like this and looking like that, or what they see on TV. And that's a problem. So don't think that you don't have anything to say to our young teenagers or our young boys. We do. We just have to know what to say.
Right.
Does anyone have any questions?
What's a good age to really start? Because I'm noticing that the youth are getting younger and younger that are starting to wake up and question things and see things. And, like you said, you mentioned 12, but some of them are a little younger. So when do you know is the right time to really start, say, if you got a 7-year-old, he's still 7, he's still a little whiny, stop whining, At what point do you start really reiterating that masculinity factor? You know what I mean? Like, what age? When do you stop being the baby? When are they stop being the baby, I should say? And actually,
I would say 9 or 10 years old. Okay. And this is just dealing with my mom. When I asked her certain questions, she would always say, at that age, she would always say, what do you think you should do?
Okay.
And automatically that makes me factor in the things that I need to do for myself without having to ask her every single time, without her having to lead me every single time, because that made me practice, and what I still do today, I just make my own decisions. And to this day, I haven't, as far as I'm concerned, I don't regret any decision I've ever made, because she instilled in me that at some point you have to be a leader.
Right.
You have to take on some type of, decision-making skills on your own without ever having to keep asking me every 5 minutes, what do you think?
Okay.
Those, 9, I would say about 9 or 10, around that time, let him still be a child, but at a certain point, start implementing certain things, because he's going to start asking, okay, what about this? Oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I don't know, what do you think? What do you think so far?
Okay, yeah.
I'm
glad you mentioned that. I do talk a lot with my grandkids. I take them in the morning. But I noticed my daughter, the 9-year-old, she is starting to give him a little more responsibility here and there, doing this, So I just was wondering. And he's real smart, so he starts to ask a lot of questions. So I wanted to make sure that I was on the right track, did not take away his, like you said, take away the childhood, but at the same time, he's really starting to ask some things. So.
He also needs to be around strong males with a certain type of mindset at that age. It's
they do have
impressive.
They have male influence in their life. They have a stepfather, and their father's active in their life too, so that's a plus.
Okay, that's good. I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have that going. Growing up, I was just around my mother and my grandmother, and that was it. Yeah, they do need that around. So having that around is also still a blessing. It's very much a blessing. They need that around. They need to see the masculine principle in a very strong and intelligent and dominant sense. They need to see that image. It's very needed to see. I saw it very little amongst black men growing up. I didn't see much of that. I didn't see much of that until I came into knowledge of self you know, when I met my father, of course, but when I really started seeing me be a connection to the ancient ones and a connection to pharaohs and you know, black leaders, prior to that, I didn't think that much of myself until now the self came in. So the fact that he has a model right there in your grandsons, that's very good. That's very good.
I mean, and Brian, that's their stepfather. He, you know, they see him get up and go to work and go to school and that kind of thing. So they see some good things. They see the relationship between the two, and then they go to their dads and they see, you know, he's very active in their life, you know, and stuff. So it works out. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot of the males in our family. We're not really on the same page. But other than that, they do have something other than just their mom and me. At one point, it was just us.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of nervous for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's good that he has it around. Everything is about, again, it's always about taking to fact images that we see every day consistently eventually becomes a part of who we are. You know, if you listen to, if a child listens to Lil Wayne every day, eventually he's going to start to try to look like him, going to try to act like him, going to try to sound like him, everything. But if a child is looking at a strong male role model and is around him a lot, eventually he's going to take on those characteristics. You know, we need more of those things. You know, and all of us.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What I do also is, like, on my phone, I have pictures of different, you know, black teachers and masters. I have your dad on there, quite a few pictures of him, and then I have, like, Elijah Muhammad. I have some Marcus Garvey, Imhotep. I have the Osset and Oscar pictures on there. So I have different pictures, and they'll go through my phone, and I'll try to explain each one to them. And I mostly put male figures on. I even have pictures of you on there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Who's that? Who's this? Other than just the dad. But, you know, so I try to bring them into, you know, who different people are. You know, different great African people are. On my computer, my desktop background is a picture of black warriors, black men warriors going out to battle, that type of pictures. And these are what I try to really, when they're around me, which they are quite a bit, the things that we talk about and what I show them. Imhotep, King Tut, you know, those kind of images.
Right. Especially, I wanted to give a plug to the brother Mwalimu Baruti. He made a book called Message to the Warriors, and that was a guide. That's a guideline for young men and young adults to follow, to bring that back. You know, it's certain people that I do read, that I do recommend, especially a brother like him, because he sticks to the African mindset of, you know, men getting themselves together, as well as Brother Umar Johnson with the book that he just put out, you know, of what they're doing to black boys in school as well. Those things, even though I may have, you know, said this before, we need to reiterate that both of those men at the same time are great images to see for masculinity in our males.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And the past as well as the present, so they can see that those that are here right here and now too.
Mm-hmm.
As well as those that have passed on and transitioned over, you know.
Right. Exactly. Because they're still very much alive. You know, I never look at history or our story as a dead situation. I always see it constantly still moving because it's moving through us. We're just remembering what we've done prior to our born date or earth date in this existence here in the physical plane.
Right.